Hello and welcome back to the A to Z of Football podcast. I'm Alex, who is the A, and I'm with Zach, who is the
Z.
A little bit of delay there, but it's all good. It's all good.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's fine. We'll roll with it. We're working through the lockdown. We're here again. We're on episode 4 now. Must be.
Episode four, and this is going to be the first episode, hopefully, where it's a bit of visuals. You can see our faces. You can see our actual reactions to some waffle that the other person's saying. It's all going to be great fun, as per usual. We have, as per usual again, 3 topics to speak about. Zachary, what 3 topics are they?
Well, we've got quite a topical episode this week, Alex. We're going to be talking about the Newcastle takeover and what that could potentially mean for Newcastle and all the other clubs in the Premier League. Should they be worried of the new reign of the northeast of England? Or we are going to talk about some of our favourite football memories again, but we're going to talk about some of our worst footballing memories and those moments in football where you really just want to walk away from it all and just never
big hole to swallow you up.
Exactly. And also we're going to discuss the Dutch League and French League being cancelled, and what does that mean for the Premier League, and was it the right decision to cancel those leagues? Let's get into it.
That's nervous times, right? I think we should start off with the Eredivise and Ligue. I think we should get that out of the way, because it's a really interesting topic. Like, I'm not surprised that some leagues are starting to get cancelled, but I am surprised with how they're going about trophies, etc. What interests me, I've got the table. So in the French league, there was such a easy win for PSG there.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. They're 12 points ahead with a game in hand, so pretty much 15 points ahead. However, they're not doing titles. It's the same with Ajax. Ajax is a bit closer, but they're not doing titles and they're not doing relegation either, as I understand it. Which I personally, I was shocked by that. I think it's completely the wrong way to go about things. Like there are teams that imagine if you're a team top of Ligue 2 or the second league of the Eredivise, like getting into the top league that you worked so hard through the season for, and that just to be completely banished, not even the opportunity of a playoff or some sort of system which they could find for clubs to get relegated and promoted. I think it's ridiculous that it's just been shut off. Obviously, I understand the fact that they may be trying to make a statement and they might send strong messages to the fans and to the clubs that you need to take this as seriously as possible. However, I think personally, we'll go on to your opinions in a second, but I think not trying to integrate some sort of playoff system, some sort of points per game system, it feels a bit. It just feels a bit of a lapse of judgment at them. But yeah, what do you think about
that? So I think this is kind of interesting because from the news that we've had, this happened very quickly. Both French and Dutch leagues were just cancelled, made void, no titles, no relegation. The season never happened, essentially. The Premier League still seem on course to want to bring it back. And obviously the Premier League's biggest league in the world, that holds a lot more, is higher up there in terms of importance than perhaps the French and Dutch league. But for Ajax and PSG, although PSG and Ajax tend to win it most years, for them to be, remove the chance to have another title, to continue their dominance in those leagues, it seems unjustified. The split, just decision to make both those leagues void and those seasons void, it just seemed very, like I say, unjustified, and just it brought down morale in the sport in general to see both France and the Netherlands, who have, as all the rest of Europe struggled with dealing with this coronavirus crisis and what to do with its sport. I think this is a difficult decision, what's right for things on a sport level, political level, health level, what is it we need to do? And I think like the Premier League are trying to now, they're finding a way to, an alternative. And I think just to make a season void when players have put and managers and background staff and journalists, broadcasters have put in all that effort to report on a thing that technically in history never happened now. It seems a little bit, it just feels quite meh. I don't know, you get what
I think that's the perfect way of describing it. It's just a bit meh. It is. Yeah. I think what I'm struggling to understand the thought process of from both leagues is the way they're deciding Champions League and Europa League spots. In that they're still they finished it, but the people who are currently in that is they're getting into the Europa League or Champions League, etc. Which I think is just it's daft, because that's sort of contradicting what they're doing with the no relegation and no title winners. Like,
so hang on, I don't think I've seen this. So there's no title relegation, but people who are in Champions League spots now will get Champions League.
Exactly.
See, that's strange, because if we put that in a Premier League context, obviously knowing that better, that you're having, if we did that in the Premier League, Liverpool would be denied the Premier League, which they desperately needed for the past 30 years. Yeah. None of the bottom teams would be relegated, but Leicester would still get Champions League football.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because it's like some teams are getting rewarded, whereas the teams that should get rewarded and or punished, aren't.
That's how I feel, because I read an article just 2 days ago or something like that, and it's a team. Let me just have a look. It's a team in the Dutch league who have a much better goal difference and are only a certain amount of points behind the team in 5th or 6th. Let's have a look. Yeah, so FC Utrecht. Apologies if my pronunciation wasn't.
I think that's a good effort.
FC Utrecht have a miles better goal difference than Willem II or Willem II above them, a game in hand against a weak opponent. So, and for that just to be cut short, and I think that's another thing. Imagine if you're that team right now, you're having a really great season, you're one win away, and all you need to do is win, because they've got far superior goal difference with a game in hand. No, sorry, the team above you gets it. It doesn't. I think the main thing about it was a statement. They have to try to make a massive statement. Yeah. But by doing so, I think there are irregularities within it, because you can't reward some teams for getting into Champions League, Europa League places, but then not people at the top, the title and bottom relegation. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you there, Alex. I think, these are tough decisions and difficult decisions to make during this, difficult time. Yeah. But for the sake of football and for the sake of fans supporting their own teams, it seems even more unjustified knowing that now that some teams who aren't in title pictures, who aren't in relegation battles, are the ones that are getting the most out of this. And for a system and agreement to be made, it needs to benefit all the teams. And I think to only benefit some is the wrong way to go about it. I think, I think also we have to recognise that these leagues are very different to the Premier League. Liverpool are deserve to be Premier League champions. Yeah. I'm not denying that Ajax and PSG don't, but Ajax and PSG dominate those leagues most years. There's been very little time, in the 21st century when they haven't. So, but Liverpool haven't won a Premier League for 30 years. So when teams get put into context, that's where the justification comes in, because Liverpool, to be robbed of what they've worked so hard to get to build that fantastic team, to be miles ahead of Man City, Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, to strip that away like the Dutch and French leagues have, if you put Liverpool in Liga with PSG and stuff, and Liverpool flying away like they are, but PSG are the dominant force in that, and PSG weren't winning. You would want, it would be unfair on Liverpool fans if that got taken away from them, and it's the same applies to Premier League. We can't make the season void, and I think these two leagues have gone the wrong way about it. Ultimately.
I agree, and again, as you've been alluding to, we're looking at it in a Premier League context. You've got one end of the spectrum, which is Liverpool, and then you've got Norwich, and like it hurts my brain to think that Leeds and West Brom, who've been terrific in the Championship this year, by far and away the best two teams.
Very true.
Could not be coming up. And again, like we're talking about Leeds here, like Leeds, they had so many heartbreaks to try and get back into the Prem, and they had to work so hard for it. This finally feels like the season. I know, obviously, last season was as well, and they slipped, but this finally feels like the season. And for that to get taken away by just voiding the season, and a team like Norwich, who just don't deserve to be there whatsoever, to stay up, I think if that's the way you've got to look at it in a Premier League context. I'll move the question over to you. Do you think this will be the measure that's taken by the Premier League?
I don't actually think it will be, no. I think
Agreed.
The news coverage that's been done in the Premier League so far, and the things that are coming out from Premier League committees and the people at the top, they seem very, very willing to get the season back going again, even if it's behind closed doors, or even if it's a tournament style sort of system. They seem very reluctant to follow the same idea of the Dutch and French leagues, and I think that's because of the Premier League status. I think if the Premier League was in and about the other European leagues in terms of relevance to football,
it's the most watched league in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone in the world supports Man United or Liverpool or Chelsea.
Burnley,
Burnley,
hundreds of millions of
millions of Burnley fans.
Think of the poor Burnley supporters. That's all I'm going to say on the matter.
But I think you're right. I think a lot of people get caught up in the trophies and the titles, and although that's just as important, the relegation and promotion battles are, these are teams that have really struggled, and they're going to be almost let off the hook.
Yeah.
Compared to teams who have worked really hard, like Leeds and West Brom, and even in the playoff places of the Championship, Forest, Bristol City just outside it at the moment, but like Preston, they're all in there, and they all have a chance of becoming Premier League players, and that's all anyone who plays football wants to ever reach is, I want to play in the Premier League. I want to score goals in the Premier League. I want to make history and make my career in the Premier League. And if that got taken away from me because of a season which wasn't anyone's fault, this pandemic's not anyone's fault, that would just be horrid for all the fans, all the players, all the coaches. This isn't just, obviously health above football. And I think that's a message that I should probably, reiterate. Obviously this football shouldn't be played with crowds of 50,000 people at the moment, because, this is bigger than football. But when football does need to come back, and this is people's jobs.
Yeah. Not just the footballers, just everyone in and around the club. Like it's a massive part of everyone's lives for working in it. You're right, and obviously supporting. So it's a big toss up, as we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago. But I think the Premier League is better placed, and I feel like we've got a good plan in place to finish the season.
Yeah. So, and I think the Premier League will take the right decisions in that, from what's being reported.
Okay, does that conclude that segment? I feel like it does. I feel
I,
like
I
it's a
feel
nice
I feel like it does. I think
way to finish.
I think to sort of wrap it up, the the choices of these leagues to go void are justified in a health sense, but in a sports sense and a job sense, they seem very unjustified, and they have taken away the spirit of football in those leagues. And I'm sure fans of teams in those leagues
Yeah.
would agree. I hope, and it does look like the Premier League will take different action, which is good. But on other big football news, Alex,
Right.
Newcastle United.
Newcastle United, the team that is huge, everyone loves. Toonami, travel down like they probably bring about 5,000 fans down to Portsmouth for a League Cup game on a Tuesday. Like their fans are ridiculous. They're best ever seen. So they've had Mike Ashley for how long? I don't even know how long now, but too long.
I don't
Three,
actually
four,
know the
5 years too long. That's how long.
Ain't too long.
This Sports Direct money grabbing, whatever words you want there. So the prospect of I've watched a lot of Newcastle fans talk about this. I don't think I've ever seen a group of supporters be so excited and just up for a huge change like they will go through. Should like it's not definitely finalised, but it's pretty much nailed in the coffin that it is going to happen. I've never seen a group of supporters feel so excited about something happening as I am with Newcastle this season. They've been wanting this for so long, and I think personally, I think everyone's sort of looking past the fact that Sheikh Mansour, I think he's for 26 billion.
Yes. Yeah.
Is his roughly how much? Not
I've seen very high figures. I'm
yeah.
not actual number.
I'm seeing in the 300 billion type figures, and like that's quite a lot of money. Like let's not beat around the bush. That's a hefty amount.
It really is.
I think we can all agree on that. So now is the question: how it's all going to pan out? I think firstly, it's about the manager, and I'm really interested to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
Maurizio Pochettino.
Yeah, well,
They
it's
offered
been
him
reported Pochettino's number one front runner, isn't he, at the moment?
reportedly they're offering him 19 million a year.
Yes.
That's the offer they're making.
Just a small wage
over
package,
to the Spurs fan here. Yeah, just a bit of back pocket change, just to go to the corner shop every now and then.
Exactly.
But no, as a Spurs fan, what would you make of Pochettino going there?
Well, firstly, I think it would be a great signing in terms of picking of manager for a rebuild of a squad. I can't think of a better manager than Pochettino for that.
Imagine going from Steve Bruce to Poch. Like, imagine that change.
It's an improvement, isn't it? I think.
Two opposite ends of the scale, aren't they?
I think he would definitely be interested in it on a personal level. I mean, he would have to have reassurances, because I think that one thing that let him down at Tottenham was Daniel Levy was quite, he kept his wallet quite close to his chest, and he didn't, I don't think they worked very well together. Pochettino and Levy never worked in complete fluency with one another. Whereas I think if he got the backing of these new owners, and he's getting 19 million a year, they'll go out and they'll buy every player out there who's a young rising star and all that. I think, I think he could have a very good impact on Newcastle, and a manager like Pochettino is key to success, I think. And if you could get him, I think you'll see improvements in the squad, even if he had the squad that he has now, that Newcastle has now. So and then you start improving that squad as well. I guess the interesting thing is what player is going to be interested in going to Newcastle because obviously they'll aim for younger players who are going to be, long term in the squad, but they're going to need a couple of big names. So what sort of players going to go, oh, I'll go play for Newcastle, who are technically running in the relegation battle of the Premier League and bottom of the Premier League? And, how do you convince players to do that? I mean, Man City did it.
Money. It is. I'm sort of like, I think unfortunately, and I think this is something Newcastle have to be quite wary of, is these new owners, if they take over and they have the money that's reported, or even half or even a quarter of the money that's reported, they can pretty much wave a check in any young, impressionable footballer's face. Come to Newcastle, we'll give you 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times the amount that you're on at your current club. You'll be, I think, as well, you'll be loved. I think Newcastle, you become a good player at Newcastle. You're treated like a god. Like Shearer's like a god up there. Like obviously he's a Premier League legend as well. But I'm saying, in this time of change, let's say Poch does go, Poch will be treated like a god. They'll worship the ground he walks on. So that's definitely that would definitely be a pull. And for the players, I know obviously it's a bit different, but Sam Maximan, everyone loves it. I think he's a great player, but everyone in Newcastle loves him. He's just class. He is just class. And imagine if you're a young player, you're not sure, but you go and hit the ground running at a new build Newcastle team. You're going to be high as a kite because everyone will love you. The whole city will love you. You'll be under this you're under Poch, who's a great manager with young people, or with young players. And
I could say that quite happily.
Yeah. But I think it will just be selling the project. That's what it is. It's Newcastle's a massive, massive football club, and selling a project like this to a young, really talented footballer would be it'll be perfect. It really would. It's almost like the deal Chelsea is sort of doing with a lot of young players, but to a much larger scale in this respect, I think.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think, Newcastle is a big club, is a massive football club, and I think it already has the elements to really build on. It's got it will get the manager. Yeah. It's got the backing of the owners. Yeah. It's got the fan base. I mean, you've talked about the fan base quite a bit, but the fan base in Newcastle is unlike any other in any of the Premier League football clubs. There's so much passion.
Out a 52,000 seater stadium. They're mid-table this season, which is better than a lot of people said they would finish. They're mid-table, but they're on the Steve Bruce. They haven't got very inspiring players. They pack out St James's every week in, week out. 52,000, so they've got the stadium. So it will just be for players coming. Will their ambitions match my ambitions? I'll be interested to know what will be first season aim for Poch should he go. What do you think it would be?
I think Europe.
I think
Europe is always the name of most Premier League clubs, but I think that would be an aspirational target, because I think the main concern that I see with this Newcastle takeover is not the owners themselves, it's not the money, it's not the manager, it won't be the players. But the Premier League is very different to when Man City had their takeover. When Man City had their takeover, the only title contenders was really Man United. Yeah. That was it. And to catch up with Man United wasn't difficult because Giggs was coming to the end of his career. Rooney was going to move on soon enough. Same with Scholes, Van der Sar. They were all moving on. So it was okay. The Premier League was different. Now, most of the clubs in the Premier League are fighting. They're in and around. I'm not going to list all of them. It's good. It's about 15 of the 20 teams in there. They're all capable, and they're all in a building or built stage. So for Newcastle to compete with them and actually become, potential title contenders or Champions League football again, that will be harder than a lot of people I think are expecting. I think these owners are just going to come, waving their cash about, and they'll just suddenly be, Premier League winners. And I don't think the Premier League works the same as did in 2008.
Oh, League On, like that's a classic example of how it does work. Like pretty much, it's just PSG are just owned by a football, by a country. Like they're just run on oil by Emirates, and like it's they that has just happened. They got all the money in the world, and they're pretty much every single season now. You can bet 99 times out of 100 that they're going to win. You are right though with Newcastle, with the current, especially like the current top six, like, well, sorry, top two actually. Anyway, like top six are a bit all over the place, but current top two, it's not going to be a case of just we've got more money than you, get like sort of move out our way. It's not. You're right. It doesn't work like that. So, I am very interested to see what their targets are, what will be a sackable season or what would be a fantastic season. Because let's say Poch finishes 7th with Newcastle, gets them Europa League football, you have to qualify through it and stuff. Normally that would be a fantastic season. But would it be good enough in the circumstances for next season? Like, who knows? Like, I guess no one really knows what these guys are reaching for, but
I think if we look at the two examples of like a big rebuild, I think Manchester City, I've already said the Premier League was very different to how it is now. So the rebuild and the money coming in, the players coming in was easier to build up quicker. If you look at Tottenham, when Pochettino came in, we had Europa League football for 2 years, I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly. And then we got consistency of Champions League football. But when Poch came in, we were already in and around the Champions League football spaces. Anyway, Newcastle are well off that. They're way down. They have a lot more to go. They have a lot more structure and foundation to build than Spurs and Man City did. So I think in that, and also, the top 6 of the Premier League is really the top 10 of the Premier League now. I know this season, Arsenal, Spurs, Everton, they've struggled, but they're still top teams. They're still teams that compete for European Champions League football. Newcastle aren't going up against just Man United now. They're going up against the whole of the Premier League. And I think with this rebuild and with these new owners coming in, they will improve, no doubt. But I think if they finished about 10th or, 10th to 6th, in the first couple of seasons, I think they take that, to be honest, because that is an improvement. And slowly but surely, I think the Premier League's turning into the Championship, in which all the teams are in it to win it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the only thing though is that I feel like these guys, they're not going to waste time, and I feel like it's going to be it might be a Watford cycle with how they do their managers. Like, I feel like they're not going to be, a few run of games which they don't get the results they want, they're just going to off with their heads. I think they've come in, and from what you're hearing off Sky and what they're offering, it very much feels like they're not going to settle for, okay, well, first couple of seasons, let's see how it goes type thing. Just don't get relegated. They are going to want success straight off the bat, straight away. And it's just hopefully they see it with the bigger picture in the fact that success can come in different forms. It's not just because it would be awful for Newcastle if they did get, let's say they got Poch and they got new players and then it just wasn't clicking at the start. You hope that it doesn't then all just
I definitely get that.
Well, I'd say.
No, I definitely get that. I think, if they are determined to jump straight to success, which could potentially happen, we're all talking the hypotheticals here with this takeover, but I don't think Pochettino works like that. I think Pochettino needs that long-term, slowly but surely build. And don't get me wrong, if he got a flood of players, then he'd be like, laughing. But he's not Pep Guardiola, who will just come in and be like, I've won you trophies. There you go. He is a team. He's a player, individual player manager. He is a builder and a grower of a club. He takes them to then that next level and hopefully carries on with that next level. You have to give football time. Football is a sport which you can inject a load of money into, but ultimately the players still need to score goals and they need to beat the other teams. You can't just throw money at a club and expect greatness. Those managers, those players that you and those fans that you've all brought in with your oil money, so to speak, they have to still click. Unfortunately, 9 times out of 10 it works. PSG, Man City, I think this takeover is really exciting for Newcastle.
I think it is exciting for the Newcastle and the Premier League, definitely. I know, by the way, I just want to shout out my brother's friend Rico Shergill. If you're watching, listening, mate, that's our opinions. I know you've got some strong ones, so drop me a message. Let me know what you're thinking. Right.
Exactly. This is a discussion about a club that you and I don't support. We're just going along with the news and we're making our own judgment of it. But
any Newcastle fans, let us know. Let us know. Let us know what you think in the comments. Right. That's the clap to signify the second topic is down, and we're moving on now. Something that I feel like I've got to get off my chest. I mean, by the way, I'm in a new a bit personal, like getting to know me.
Oh.
Is that maybe from me less traumatic to the memory or the couple memories that stick out in your mind is just unthinkable?
I think a really low point for me, football-wise, in memories was England versus Iceland.
Oh, interesting one. Okay.
The moment that European Championships, I'm watching Harry Kane take a corner. I'm thinking, this isn't going well at all. And we lost 2-1 to Iceland, who are ranked well below England, definitely are. And
they have 200,000 less. They have 200,000 less people than Bristol do in their population. Like I'm saying, like
we got beaten by a team of dentists and doctors.
Exactly, and a filmmaker. Their goalkeeper is a filmmaker or something. Like you're right. That's a good one. That was really that was.
And to be honest, it's not so much the game that sticks out to me in that memory. It was the punditry afterwards. And I remember Alan Shearer sat there going, that is the worst 90 minutes I've ever seen for England football. And that just summed it up for me. It was, I held that heavy on my heart for so long. I thought we'd be bullied by the nations. We were slow, we were rugged. Hodgson had no idea what he was doing. No one was in the positions they should have been. Rooney was hanging around like a veteran who, overstayed his welcome. It was just.
He was actually one of the better players, to be fair, in that tournament. And that's saying something. You're right.
I think it was a moment of just like really, in terms of football, national despair that we'd lost to a team which everyone thought that was an easy win game, But we reported that whole championship anyway, and I think that was the moment England football was at its lowest for me. I think, even the Lampard goal, which I talked about last week, this trumps that. It is just England versus Iceland is something that still sticks out to me and still makes me kind of angry now,
that was awful, to be fair.
Yeah. Bad.
Okay, so I will move on to, again, England based. Now this was So let's just set the scene, right? Most disliked and annoying and just frustrating footballers. One of them tops the list is Luis Suarez, right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Everyone just dislikes him, oh, it just annoys me. Anyway, that's by the by. So obviously, World Cup 2014, lose to Italy in the first game, which was a bit of a weird one. Like we played okay. Italy probably the better team. Balotelli scored. But there was a little bit of optimism because we weren't too bad. Stars looked great at that time, and then we played Uruguay. Luis Suarez, of all people, scores the first. We equalise. Rooney gets his first goal. Right, let's push on now. Then some stupid goal kick. Luis Suarez, we go down. Luis Suarez smashes it in the back of the net. And I'm like, that was just the worst person to do it to us, first of all. One of the worst ways to go out after we just equalised and looked like there was a bit of positivity. And then that just finished off the World Cup for England. And I remember just being like, what do I do now?
I remember actually I was on holiday in Portugal and we were watching that game in the bar, and obviously all the England fans were out in their masses there as well. And there was just after the match, after Suarez scored that goal, there was just silence that England have been knocked out in the group stage of a World Cup, and we're just
group stage.
Groups. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that group is difficult. I think Italy's strong team, Uruguay strong team, Costa Rica did really well. But we should have got through that. We have the team for it. We've always had the team for it. And that in that bar in Portugal, it was just the sound of the nation. Really, it was just despair and disbelief that we'd let a big teethed Suarez score,
biting. Yeah, let's not forget in the next game he had a chunk of Chiellini for his lunch.
Absolutely, exactly.
How we let, and also, I'm just going to go on a rant about Luis Suarez as well. I flipping hate that guy because of the 2010 World Cup against Ghana.
Of course.
When he handballed it. That was one of my lowest moments because that was the quarterfinals. Ghana would have got through to an African team in the semi-finals would have been class, especially because it was in.
I remember watching that game. I remember watching that game, and I was like, "Come on, Ghana, go on!" I've never seen Ghana in any international competition at all, but I was just when he handballed it and then he missed the penalty.
And then he celebrated, and you remember he was on the sidelines. He celebrated. Yeah. And then they won. I was fuming. I was absolutely fuming. I was so angry because Ghana the underdogs would have been great to have an African team in the semi-finals. He just handballs it, gets sent off. Like, oh, what? He looks like he's crying. He watches the penalty, he celebrates. Uruguay going to win, and yeah. Oh, Luis Suarez, right. Let's just get off Luis Suarez. He's annoying me now. He hasn't really done anything to me.
That's what I can see that actual hatred in your voice.
There's not many people in this world I dislike, and he's one of them.
That's fair,
Suarez, if you want.
Let's just hope Burnley don't sign him. Let's hope Burnley don't sign him because I don't know what you'll do.
If Burnley sign him, he's the best. I love him. He's the best player ever. But until that day, he's on my naughty list.
Fair.
Sure.
I think I'd like to finish off with and actually one of my favourite football memories and one of and not so downhearted memories. This was the first football game I ever watched. I actually went to and watched. It was Sutton United. It's where I'm originally from. I watched Sutton United.
Did you see goal?
I watched Sutton United play. I watched Sutton United play Shrewsbury. It was a £2 entry.
Oh, beautiful!
and it was fully packed on a Wednesday evening. And where they won 5-0, Sutton won 5-0, and it was the first time I saw, when the goalkeeper handles it out, not outside, like pass back. That's what. Yeah. I saw one of those free kicks in the box for the first time as well, and I was like, "What the going on?" You know, I don't know how old I was. I'm trying to remember. Maybe 8, I think. And it was just so fantastic to see a local community come together in a tiny little stadium, tiny little pitch with these, unfit men playing football. They were unfit men, athletes like we see in the Premier League.
Was that conference?
They were in the Southern Conference then.
Yeah. So that's saying so. Back then, that must have been. Oh my gosh!
But it was just fantastic. I remember at one point the ball got kicked out the stadium because it was so small, and my brother and I chased after. We got to keep the football because we found it. It's just a great memory. It's just local football, local community. My first ever live football match. It was just great. Another thing that I remember the queue to the toilets, and for the men, it was just a wall, like a genuinely brick wall, and it was just men, and I was just like, this is true football spirit here, isn't it? It was incredible. I enjoyed it so much.
Oh mate, it might look like I'm crying. I've got a little bit of a cold, so I wasn't shedding a tear for that lovely football memory, but it was lovely all the same. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that wraps it up. I think that was a very good call, I reckon.
Yeah, that was quite a, not as long as last week, but I think we've got our arguments across there. That was good.
Yeah, we've got our thoughts across as always. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts if you have any, and yeah, I think see you guys later. Much love.
Bye.